Hello, game development is a really long process, especially as a solo developer. And that scary thing called burnout is very much real. It has happened to me personally, so today I thought I could give you my advice on it. But it is important to know that burnout can happen to anyone, whether you are a developer struggling to see results or a developer at the peak of your career. We first need to understand why burnout happens, then how we are able to help prevent it. And spoiler, you have to keep game development fun. And I know, that is much simpler said than done, but let me break it down for you within this video. Subscribe to help YouTube push this video to other aspiring game developers who may really need to hear this, and let's begin. So burnout can happen for many reasons, but in my personal experience, burnout occurred from stressing so much about how my projects were turning out that it literally led me to not even wanting to develop. So I basically turned a hobby into a chore since it would bring on more stress than enjoyment. It became something I thought I must do, and if I didn't work on a project for that specific day, I would feel a sense of laziness within myself. I got to the point where I disliked game development so much that I think I went 6 or 7 months without even opening Godot. And I know that sounds terrible, but it taught me what I think is the most useful lesson, which I still lean on today. And that is there is nothing wrong with stepping away from development for a little. Everyone knows the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and it is absolutely true. Each time I took a break, at some point I would always get pulled back with this excitement to develop. Once I started taking purposeful breaks here and there to focus on other things in life, I actually started to make more progress in my projects. It seems like it should work the opposite, doesn't it? Well, I mean, think about it. If you're on a road trip and you never refueled your car, you'd make progress until you run out of fuel, then you'll be stuck somewhere. You may get out and try and push the car to keep making progress, but that progress will be tiny. And on the other hand, if you would have just stopped to refuel, although you would have been put at a standstill for a minute, throughout the entire journey, you'll make much more consistent progress. And I know everyone mentions taking breaks, and it almost seems as if I'm just repeating what you've already heard, but trust me, it really did help me. So I've spent a pretty long while thinking about what I wish I would have known back when I was dealing with burnout, and I came up with 5 major tips which would have no doubt in my mind made my experience so much more enjoyable, and I want to share them with you here today. So firstly, doing quick game jams, because when working on a long-term project, in the beginning, everything will be exciting, unique, and challenging. But as time goes on, things may start to get repetitive, so to counter that sense of repetitiveness, taking part in a weekend game jam will give you a change in thought, style, and workflow, along with a new challenge. You'll also get a huge confidence boost by finishing a whole project in just a weekend. Now, when working on a long-term project, do not set strict deadlines or goals. I think to-do lists are great, but don't tell yourself I must finish this aspect by the end of the month. Instead, be very flexible, because when you set deadlines on something, it becomes a chore. And when something becomes a chore, you take away that enjoyment it once brought. For example, if we only had to do yard work when we wanted to do yard work, then we would always enjoy doing yard work. But that just isn't reality. Since yard work is a chore and must be done regardless of how we feel, some days you may enjoy it and others you may not enjoy it as much. But since game dev is a hobby, we must try our best to not force ourselves to develop and turn that hobby into an extra chore, which just brings more stress into our life. And just quickly piggybacking off of that, it is important to try and simplify things, especially as a solo developer. For example, keep everything organized, work on one task at a time, break down bigger tasks into smaller tasks, and so on. Doing this will make everything so much less overwhelming in your mind, in turn leading you to want to develop more, since you already know what you're going to work on and how you're going to go about it. Now you're going to think I'm crazy for mentioning this in this sort of video, but it is important to prioritize your health and lifestyle over just making progress. Firstly, because a clear mind makes focusing 100 times easier and more enjoyable. But secondly, because you don't want to lead yourself down a scary path. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the game Lynn's Island, but the developer Julian Ball shared a near-death experience when he got rushed to the hospital because his health was in such a bad spot from ignoring everything and just trying to develop. Thankfully, he is okay now and is able to share his story and help bring awareness to the facts. But if you are sacrificing other very important aspects of your life to make progress, then you are just putting a huge toll on your body, which will lead you to having to stop development anyway because it is literally physically hurting you. So trust me, if you focus on those other aspects and get them right, then you'll make more progress in your project than you've ever made before. But if you do want to hear Julian Ball share his story, I'll leave a link to that podcast in the description. Just keep in mind that if your body and mind aren't right, it'll be hard to stay focused, you won't have much motivation, and you'll just feel down, which will all lead you right into that burnout trap. The next tip is going to very much go against what everyone else says, but switch up your tools and methods. I know everyone says to find a software and stick to it, and yeah, while that may help improve your workflow since you understand how to use it, it also makes things very repetitive. I like to switch things up every once in a while and try new softwares, or maybe, for example, try to develop combat in a much different way than I have before. If you practice doing things differently, you'll enjoy the process much more, and you'll also be learning a lot. Every once in a while, I like to do something very random to put my mind on a whole different playing field. Like for example, I only develop in 2D, but recently I've been playing around in 3D just to get my mind off my personal project for a bit. And yes, I understand when trying to use new softwares there is going to be of course a bit of a learning curve. And for me with Godot 3D, I found a class on Skillshare titled Introduction to 3D Game Development in Godot by Thomas, which has been a huge help to help me understand the basics of how nodes function in a 3D space. So now I can go off and create my own fun little projects in 3D. I just need to learn a bit of 3D modeling as well. But this video is actually sponsored by Skillshare. I've been using Skillshare for a while now, and it is a community I can stand behind. I feel very comfortable recommending it to you because there is so much knowledge. I mean, they are the largest online learning community for anyone, as they literally have thousands of classes led by industry experts in practically every industry, from photography, model trains, or even hat making. If you can name it, Skillshare probably has an expert in said industry who has created a top-notch class for you. Skillshare is especially useful for learning any new programs like any of the graphic design, modeling, animation, developing art, or audio program that you may want to try out to help change up your workflow. Skillshare also has Learning Path, which is a feature that is perfect for helping you master any specific skill, as they are these consecutive class collections to help you walk through that specific topic. And lastly, the best part of this entire thing, the first 500 people to use my link in the description or pinned comment will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So join Skillshare and get started today, and trust me, you will not regret it. Another thing that'll really help prevent burnout is working with others. Now, this won't resonate with everyone, but if you're really struggling with burnout, then try working with a few other developers on a separate project. Working with others makes the journey become a lot more fun because you have those people to not only learn with, but to also laugh with. And stemming from that, I also really recommend you become part of a community, because doing so, you join an environment with people who help motivate, encourage, and support you throughout your journey. I started getting involved in a few game dev communities around 2 years ago, and my only regret was not doing it sooner. I recommend pretty much any mainstream Godot Discord community, as they are pretty organized and I have only had good experiences within them. Overall, I think the most important thing to take from this video is to try your absolute best to not fall into the trap of repetitiveness, because the moment that happens, it becomes very hard to stay motivated since you're just doing the same things over and over. The game development process is very long and burnout is very common, and trying to explain how to truly prevent burnout is a very hard task because it's different for every single person. But I hope I was able to help at least assist you in the right direction with this video. Let me know what works best for you in the comments so we can all learn a little. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you did learn something, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you so much, and until next time, stay safe and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. God bless and bye-bye.